What up, nerds, and welcome to another very special episode of Straight Chilling. We're bringing you guys another bonus episode, and we're talking about yet another film festival, BiFan, also known as the Bucheon International Fantastic Film Festival. We watched a shitload of movies, and we're going to tell you guys all about them. Of course, joining me all the way from Washington, D.C., we got your boy Randeezy. What's up, man?
What's going on, children?
How's it going, my man? You ready to talk another festival? Man,
I am.
We're stacking them up this year.
I know. It's crazy, man. We've been staying busy and watching, dare I say, more new movies than any other year. I would have to guess.
Know, man. As much as this was a podcast became a part-time job, it has now become a part-time, full-time job.
Yeah, I agree.
And, that's not a complaint. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Last but not least, calling in from Seoul, South Korea, we got your boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy Soju. Let's get it, boys.
Getting it.
All the way here in Korea. My neck of the woods, finally.
Yeah, man. Taking over world domination here at Straight Chilling.
Yeah, we're going international.
There you go. Yeah, Juice, you were actually able to attend BiFan in person, which is super, super awesome. You want to give us a little bit of a rundown of what it was like?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, very busy, a lot of stuff going on, but I was able to cover it from the beginning all the way to the end. Got to do the opening ceremony. Ari Aster opened it. They did, his was the opening film, Bo is Afraid. And I was like, is it not afraid? For some reason, Bo is
confounding.
Now, I will say, I've got some video clips of it. I need to throw it up, but I'm pretty sure Ari Aster got in trouble on the main stage. So he like came out swinging. He was like kind of being a little vulgar and stuff, and I'm pretty sure it was televised, and I'm pretty sure they shut that shit down really quick. So that was kind of cracking me up. But yeah, it was really cool because the red carpet was there. I got to like kind of cover the red carpet for opening and closing ceremonies. Got to do a lot of like Q&A session, or go to a lot of Q&A sessions and stuff like that, which was really cool. And yeah, I do want to give like shouts outs like crazy to the staff too. So it was a lot of young people doing like volunteer work and stuff. But one of the good things that they had set up is everybody was always in the same station. So when I had to go print out my tickets, or I was going into the digital lounge and all that kind of stuff, I kind of like got to know the crew there, and they were all like super helpful every time, super sweet. And they did a great job, and the international staff as well was just super helpful. So big thanks to them for making it as easy as possible for me this year. So yeah,
awesome.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
You got to keep your boy Aster straight, man. Next time, tell him what's up.
I was also, so I got to go to the after party for the opening and closing ceremony, and I was keeping my eye open. He was not at the after party. Like everybody else was there. Old boy was there. Chaemin Cheek, he was there, and everybody was there. But Ari Aster,
like they were calling him old boy now.
What up, old boy?
My boy, I just got an Odesu.
My old pal, old boy. Yeah, Odesu. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was there. Everybody was there, but maybe it's because they were screening his film at the same time too. So maybe that's why. So I didn't get to meet him, unfortunately.
He'll just be older whenever you finally do.
You should have shot him a grimace from across the room.
Eat a live octopus.
Yeah, hey.
I know what's up. I know what's up.
I meant Ari Aster wasn't there.
Yeah. No.
But yeah. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Awesome, man. Well, let's get into some of these movies. I think we got a little over 20 that we're going to run down, and they're from all over the world. Oof. We're going to try and shout out what country they hail from. And these are all going to be spoiler-free because most of them haven't gotten a wide release yet. So yeah, we're just going to get right into it. I think I'm going to kick it off here with a movie called The Seeding. And this was an American production written and directed by Barnaby Clay. I wrote an article for our website on this too, so if you want to go and read some of my thoughts, you can find them on straightchillingpodcast.com. But this is a dark little picture here somewhat grim. It's about this dude who goes hiking in the woods, or in the desert, rather, not the woods. He finds this kid who claims to have lost his parents. So, of course, he wants to try and help him find his parents. He ends up going down to this ridge. He climbs down this ladder because there's a cabin, and he finds a woman living there and tries to ask her for help. And he turns around, and the ladder is no longer there, and he is stuck in this hole, and he has no idea what the dealio is and what's going on, and it just sort of gets worse from there, and you find out more about exactly what's going on, of course, as the movie unfolds. It's grim, super interesting.
We're hunting for dick.
Damn.
Man, that really kind of applies to this movie. But I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this movie. If you're down for something that's pretty dark with some fantastic acting, I would definitely recommend checking out The Seeding whenever it gets its wide release. Solid picture.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, this
fun.
is one of my favorite,
great.
like straight up horrors. Yeah, too. Like this one was straight up horror. It kind of had this feeling. I was saying, like, it kind of feels like Midsummer mixed with The Hills Have Eyes, which is wild because those are pretty different.
Hills Have Eyes vibes, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
well, just the setting is very like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But no, like the performances, like Bob said, they're all really good in that show. So on that movie, rather. So.
Yeah, I was like really impressed by it too, because this kind of came out of nowhere for me, and it was like such a good movie that I was like, wow, this feels like almost like strange to be at a festival in a weird way.
Without
and I was just
anything
like,
about it,
yeah, and this is one of those directors. I don't think he was at the opening, like at the beginning of the festival, but he was definitely around for the end. Like I saw him around, and I wanted to get an opportunity to talk to him. I just like couldn't squeeze into the schedule, but I was really impressed by this film. So yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah, keep your eyes peeled for The Seeding.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's see. Next up, Randus.
Yeah, so I got to see a few movies, not nearly as many as you did, Juice, being there and everything, but this Korean film called Helpless, I got to watch through a screener. The director, and I'm going to butcher names, I do apologize, Jeon Sung-pyo?
Jeon Sung-pyo.
Jeon Sung-pyo. So yeah, this movie is kind of about this guy who's kind of listless in life. He's not very good at his job, and he's... I don't know, a little reserved. He goes to meet some old friends, including a friend of his or a mutual friend or something that is actually making it killing being an internet personality, some sort of internet comedian. And like, he's obviously like seething with jealousy kind of under the surface, and he's trying to do his own thing, but nobody watches him. And it's all very like sad boy to me, a lot of it, until it starts turning into caustic boy, incel boy. It's very strange movie. I think that there's maybe, I don't know if it's all just lost in translation, some of it, or if it's just intentionally stilted, but like the way that they talk about influencers is a little different than I would think about them. I feel like that has some cultural, like it's a cultural differentiation maybe, but I don't know that. So it was a little bit tough for me to like really understand what was strange, what was out of place about some of the things in this movie, and what was just like what seemed normal for the context. And I feel like that was a little bit of a hurdle for me. But aside from that, like I think the performances were good. I think that it just kind of meanders a little bit in the end. So it's not like one that I would like jump out of my seat and tell everybody you have to go see right now, but it is one that I would generally recommend. I think it's worth taking a look at. And when it does finally hit VOD or whatever, however it's going to be released in the States, I think you could do worse than this, but it's straight horror. I wouldn't call it that. I would call it more of like a drama thriller. I don't know.
Yeah, like
Juicy watched it, right?
Yeah, it's darker. Yeah. It's like very like kind of toxic too. Like it kind of like is critiquing that influencer kind of world, and so it's all like kind of negative. It reminds
me a little bit of Nightcrawler, but not as engrossing to me.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So, that's a good comparison. Mm-hmm.
So that's my feelings on Helpless.
Yeah, I saw that one too. It's solid. It has some dark turns, but mostly it's just kind of living in that like negative kind of world of like backstabbing and like the behind the scenes of like what these people have to go through and stuff like that.
The artifice of it all, and like what's real, what's not, kind of plays into a lot of things. And what qualifies as comedy is very very strange to me in that, and I'm not sure how much of that is influencer culture or Korean culture, but some of that was lost
not
on me.
Even any of those.
Yeah, maybe it's just a strange
maybe just
thing
interpretations.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think Juice, you had something else that you wanted to talk about next.
Yeah, so the next one up on the list is Tiger Stripes. This is a film out of Malaysia. The director's name is Amanda Nell Yu, and this picture won the Grand Prize Award at Cannes earlier this year, like back in March or April, whenever that festival was. And I actually didn't know that going in, and I just got kind of lucky because I got to see this film and it was packed out, and I was like, oh my lord. And they had a Q&A session too, so with the director and the main actress who did a fantastic job as well. And I really liked this movie. It was really good. I could see why it won. And it's essentially, it's got kind of a Ginger Snaps vibe where essentially there's this girl and it's about her, like experiencing, like she gets her first period in the film and like going through like puberty and stuff. And it's really good, because it doesn't shy away from anything, but it deals with really heavy topics, but it's got this really great breadth of like levity. The main actress, all the actresses are like super young, but she has like great energy. It's about like friendship, and they're in a more kind of like conservative type of environment and society. And like her other friend is like hasn't got her period yet, and she kind of rejects her, and like her going through school and like dealing with her mom. But also it's got this fantastical element too, because there's this like folklore story that they tell about this woman who kind of like rejected society and turned into a tiger and like ran out into the woods to live alone. And so this girl is like going through this transformation. It's got some intense body horror. It's like some really intense stuff. But like I said, it's never too heavy, even though it does deal with heavy things. And I just think like she has like this cool like punk rock style too. Every now and then there'd be this like musical drop or cue, and like the kind of color vibes would change or whatever from just like being out in like kind of a jungle-ish area with a lot of green and stuff. But it was just really cool. It was like a really... The colors, Duke! The colors! Yeah, it was just really surprising to me, and it was a great film. And this is one that it's got to get some kind of release with, like, it's winning like a lot of awards at all these different festivals, and like you're gonna have to be able to see it at some point, hopefully soon. And it's even at a festival we're covering right now, and it's everywhere with the festival scene. So I hope it gets a big release soon.
Nice.
Next up, I'm going to be talking about an Australian picture. This one is called You'll Never Find Me. This was written by Indiana Bell and directed by Josiah Allen and Indiana Bell. This is another kind of small cast movie. It's about this young woman who is seeking shelter from a hellacious storm in this older man's secluded trailer in a trailer park. And he lets her inside for the evening to weather the storm, and you begin to wonder why they're acting so strange. They both seem to have secrets that they're keeping from one another, and you kind of start to question like who can you trust in this situation and who's really the bad guy. Again, just like amazing fucking acting from both these people. It's kind of like a bottle movie. It pretty much entirely takes place in this trailer between these two actors, and they just absolutely kill it. This is another one that I really thoroughly enjoyed and hadn't heard anything about it before. It was just kind of like a nice surprise to throw it on, and the ending was phenomenal, which I won't speak on. But I really enjoyed this one, and you guys watched it as well, I believe.
Yeah, I think we all got a thrill out of this one, right? Like that acting was well on point, and this is yet another success for Australia this year.
Yeah.
Like it's really stacking up in there
this year. Yeah.
They really are. So good for them. I don't know. I think that this whole movie was one of my favorites, I think, from this festival that I saw. So, kudos to them. They really brought it. And yeah, like also bottle movies, like seen quite a few bottle movies as a matter of going through this festival. And for the most part, that's worked out really well. It's just really strong dialogue, really strong performances. I mean,
a lot of tension. I would say the tension in this movie is real nonstop.
Yeah, I agree absolutely. With that,
and it's really good because I think it really does. It deals with that thing we always talk about of the kind of like being polite aspect where it does, but it also deals with the things that we always say, like, no, don't do it. Like, people aren't making necessarily stupid decisions. They're like in a desperate spot. Like, they're truly make it about being in a desperate spot. So I thought that they did a good job with that.
Yeah.
They towed the line.
Yeah. So keep your eyes peeled for "You'll Never Find Me" coming soon.
Yeah.
That's an unfortunate title for somebody looking for that movie. I'll continue down the line here. I know we got things we got to get to. So, the next film on the list is called Life of Mariko and Kabuchiko. I'm sure that there's an emphasis in the wrong spot there somewhere. But this is not a horror movie really in the slightest. In fact, I wasn't sure what to anticipate from this. This is a screener that we got, and I was like, let's just roll with it. Let's just put it on sight unseen. And it was odd for me. I think it's about this woman who's both a bar owner, a bartender, and a private detective on the side. And it's kind of treats it as if almost like this is a sequel or like something. That's what it kind of feels like. But also it's kind of like an anthology or like it's almost like they compacted like 12 short stories, 12 short comics within a setting and a world into one movie. And I didn't know that going in, and it's kind of like not telegraphed well. So I was very confused for a little bit. It's like, wait, who is this now? And why are we following this person? Like,
it's just like constantly rotating out.
Yeah, it's like short stories of Springfield episode of The Simpsons, but they don't really intro anything in any particular way. It's all the same director. It's all coming from the same spot. So it doesn't really read that way. And I didn't realize that's what they were doing for a while. Gotcha. It's kind of cutesy in a lot of ways. I think it's kind of like cute, and it's got some like sci-fi elements. Like she's working for the FBI to find alien that got stolen or something along those lines. But like you don't really get a whole lot of resolution for anything that's like the central bone plot, at least not to my mind. You get a lot of like little vignettes about different characters. Some of them are like heartbreakingly sad, and some of them are really silly. Like it's just a real grab bag. I'm not sure that I really loved it as a whole. I think that it kind of didn't. I think that each part was better than the sum. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. It was fine. I think that if you're looking for something kind of light to throw on, you could do worse than this. But if you're not a native tongue speaker, then you're going to have to pay closer attention than probably I would want to for this movie again.
Oh, Japan. Bob, you've been there.
So have you.
You know this director? You know this person?
Yeah.
I thought it was mythical.
We were chugging sake in a tiny little bar. It was great.
That was her, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. What you got next, Juice?
Oh yeah, that's me. Let's see. Sorry. In My Mother's Skin. Oh, this is another like good, like straight up horror. This is from director Kenneth Dagatan. Probably fucked that up. Sorry about that. But yeah, it's based. So the film is set in the Philippines, but it's got some joint efforts from, it's a Singapore and Taiwan. Maybe some of the performers are from there, but, yeah, this one was really fucking cool. This has touches of Del Toro in it because it is about it follows this family. They have this kind of like a baller house out in the jungle. It's set during World War II, so it's kind of like a period piece situation. And so there's some kind of like politics going on that takes the dad away from the family. The mom gets sick. The children like have to wander around and try to like find some food. They're getting low on food. and they come across this kind of like fairy, and she's like kind of fucks with them, where she's like, oh, I'll give you it's kind of like a monkey's paw situation. Oh, I'll give you something, but it's gonna have an effect or whatever. So things just kind of like start to spiral out of control on all fronts, because you got like the war kind of you're dealing with like local people, like kind of corrupt people trying to take advantage of the situation, and then also the family is just like dealing with some other shit too. So it was really good. The set designs are like really cool. The costume designs are really cool. You'll see a lot of the images of the fairy. It's based on too, like she's kind of like cicadas are like play a huge part in this. So like the sound design is really good in this. And yeah, this one was just really good. Pretty brutal stuff actually going on here. Again, you're like in the same way of like Pan's Labyrinth, where you kind of follow the perspective of this young girl and things start to get like twisted and stuff like that. A lot of like folklore fairy tales. This guy did a Q&A too with his cast, and he was saying like, yeah, this is actually based on a local kind of like folklore from my hometown, like in the Philippines. So it was like cool. There's a lot of like Catholic imagery going on too, where they kind of like blend it and associate things in the similar kind of way. So this is another one that I would try to keep an eye on. I hope this one gets like a big release. It's good enough to it was just like a good straight up horror with some folklore elements in there, some fantastical elements, but really brutal stuff going on sometimes. So
nice. Sounds promising.
Yeah. I like this one a lot. Yeah, this was good.
What was the title of that again?
In My Mother's Skin.
Nice. For those keeping score at home.
Mm-hmm.
I'll jump in here next. I want to talk about a movie called Rock-a-Bye Baby.
Oh boy.
This was a Vietnamese production, and I couldn't locate the director's name because I couldn't find it on IMDb. Do you have that handy?
Oh yeah, but I'm gonna brutalize it. It's Lee Bin Kyung. Lee Bin Kyung.
Nice.
Maybe.
Yeah. Don't brutalize the name.
Brutalize. This is kind of a brutal picture, which seems to be a bit of a theme here. People fucking with people, or at least the movies that I've been talking about for sure. This is about like a younger dude, 20-somethings. He's got a YouTube show where he investigates paranormal stuff, and he is in this movie decides to investigate 3 murders, and through the course of doing that, he sort of like finds out more about his family and stuff too. So this is like, it's kind of partially found footage, because like as he starts doing these investigations, it's like handy cam, he's holding the camera as he's walking around talking. But it kind of goes back and forth. It's not entirely found footage. So it's kind of interesting in how it plays with the medium in that way. There's a couple really, really brutal sequences in this movie that like really stood out to me. And the ending, which again, no spoilers here, but I just couldn't help but think of Juice when I saw the ending, because it's just your worst nightmare. The biggest trigger warning of Justin's fucking life is the end of this movie.
Once I pooped in my pants in school, and I just left it in all day.
Just leave it in.
This was brutal to the point, like maybe I saw some other similar or maybe more brutal things, but this movie just felt like it was almost nonstop brutality.
Yeah.
One thing that I did think was interesting was kind of a way of handling an anthology. It's kind of, like him like being a true crime, like influencer podcast, whatever, and just kind of going through these things. And they were almost like separate stories, but you're following this guy. So he's the wraparound kind of. And it was interesting in that way. But fucking brutal.
Yeah.
Fucking brutal.
Tough stuff.
It was. Yeah, because there's
living in a nightmare.
It's not really any like spooky stuff going on. It's just like brutal slayings of like innocent people, just families, and their
horrible
homes.
People doing shit. Yeah.
Bad things.
Bad things. So Rock-a-Bye Baby is that one. Keep your eyes peeled.
Mm-hmm.
Randeezy?
Nope. Sorry, I'm gonna take this one. I'm doing a Korean film. This is so they have different categories in the festival, and they did have one for like specifically for like new Korean horror, or not necessarily horror, but new Korean films. And this was probably my favorite. It's called Her Hobby. The director's name is I only have it in English, so sorry if I mess it up. 죄송합니다. Ha Myung-mi. Ha Myung-mi, I think that's right. So this is Korean, and I really like this movie. It's about a young woman who divorces her abusive husband and goes back to her small town in rural Korea, and it's kind of about her fitting back into that society, which is not easy for her, especially as a divorced woman, as a young woman, attractive. Like, it's a little bit of that kind of like lawlessness we talk about, like out in the sticks, or kind of people do as they please and you kind of have to just defend yourself. But it is a nice kind of tale in some ways, because one of the big things about it is there's a rich woman who moves into this kind of like cabin close by, like almost as like a vacation home or whatever, and she befriends this woman and kind of starts to give her confidence and teach her to kind of like how to like be herself, stand up for herself and stuff like that. And it does get like brutal in some points. So it's a mix. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a horror film. It's a kind of a thriller in some ways, but there's some really beautiful stuff going on in this film. There's some really brutal stuff going on in this film, but overall I was really pleased with it, and the performances were great. The story was really strong. The only thing I would suggest is Myung-mi, please give me a call as your producer for your next film. I'll handle your gun situations. There's some gun situations going on here in Korea, and I think they need like maybe a little American touch. You know, maybe I can help out with that as good.
Gun situations?
Yeah. So, well, there was specifically there's a shotgun scene, so they get a hand on a shotgun, but they treat it as if it's like kind of a rifle where it could like fire at long distances, or like used in like, I don't know. It was just like, as an American with our gun sensibilities, I was like, I need a little, you know, I need to help out on this.
That ain't right.
There is one scene where somebody gets shot with a shotgun, but like point blank, but it acts as if it's like a single bullet. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, that man's chest would be gone. Obliterated. Just be obliterated. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, a really, really solid film. I think my favorite Korean movie that I watched in this festival, and I was really impressed. That film is coming out in Korea in August, I believe. So nice. If you're in Korea, you'll be able to check that out. And I hope that I get an opportunity to see it again. So, yeah.
Dope. Lovely. Randeezy, I think you're up next.
I am. So, yeah, my next film on the list is called Superposition. And that is a film from Denmark by director Caroline Lyngby. I don't know. Pronunciation's notwithstanding. And this movie is it's a drama. It's kind of a straight drama with some sci-fi elements, some pretty strong sci-fi elements, as you'll see. So like the conceit is that there's this couple that one of which is a podcaster, hey, relatable, and his wife and their son, his wife who's a writer and his son who's a young child, they all go to live sort of in a secluded cabin that's got no one around it for miles, supposedly. They're there to like fix their relationship or talk about their relationship on a podcast, and they send tapes out and all this stuff. And as they're out there, they realize there's another couple living across the lake, and they look remarkably similar to them. I think you can see where this is going. There's a little bit of a doppelganger situation going on here. That's not a spoiler. It's in the first act. So, yeah, this is an interesting movie. I think that it's kind of tough right now to find a good angle on that kind of story, because that's sort of a conceit we've seen a little bit over the last few years. Us comes to mind first and foremost, of course, but that's just one of several. I think what is that movie? Oh man, Coherence is another one that's got some of that. You know, there's a lot of like these sort of cerebral dramas, but really this movie is about the relationship of the parents, and it's kind of got a little bit of like themes that aren't terribly distant from Annihilation. I don't know. I think it works out pretty well in its favor. So I would recommend this movie. I think that it's for using a sort of a tried and true conceit that hasn't quite oversaturated yet. They do a pretty good job of differentiating themselves in a couple of different ways that I can't really expound on. But yeah, ultimately, I think it's pretty good. The performances are strong. I think the directing is strong. It looks pretty good. There's just not a ton of scenes that really stand out as being like great. You know what I mean? Like it's all very good.
It's steady. Yeah.
It's steady and it's good. And I by the end of the story, I'm like, yeah, okay, I see what they were going for there. It has something to say. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's even more to say once you dig into it a little bit deeper. And there's some darkness in there for sure that's worth pondering over. But yeah, I would say that there's, it's good. It's good.
This is a cool mind bender. Some people are really hungry for mind bending type of films. Yeah, I actually wrote an article on this one. I forgot to mention a lot of these we have written articles on, so you can find them on our website as well. So yeah, I like this one. It was like a mind bendy, but also thrillery, some suspense, good cinematography.
It doesn't go so deep into the mind bendy category to where you're like fixated on why things are happening, so much as it is focused on the character development, which is nice.
Study, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Dope. Juice, you got the next one, right? This one you definitely.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have to keep alternating since I watched so many damn movies. So this one, Hungry Ghost Diner. This another one based out of Malaysia. Malaysia's killing it at this festival, at least. This is from director Wee Jun Cho, who I actually just did an interview with recently. This is one that became like really endearing to me. It's one of the first screeners that we got, and I ended up going to the premiere release too, because they were going to be doing a Q&A, and I was just kind of so impressed by this film that I really wanted to hear them talk about it and to be able to see it again on the big screen. And so I did take the time to go see it, and I really enjoyed it the second time too. And it's just, this is not a horror film. This is, I keep saying this is like a Malaysian Coco. It's about a festival. So it does deal with ghosts, and there's like some spooky kind of elements in it, but mostly it's just like a, coming of age story about this woman in Malaysia who has a food truck. So there's like a lot of food elements to it. But yeah, it's about this tradition. We do it here differently in Korea a little bit, but similar idea of like feeding the ghost or whatever. So you like people at certain points of time in the year, you put food out, you set a place at the table, you go to someone's grave, you put food out, you have a meal with them. They essentially like eat the essence of the food, and like it's just something to kind of like celebrate that person and like keep them near you and alive and stuff, kind of like satiate the ghosts and stuff. So it's kind of about that. I thought they did a really good job with, it's got a great style, putting you in the place. I've never been to Malaysia before, but I found it all very interesting. I felt the characters very relatable. It's just, I was really pleased with this movie and really impressed by it. And it's really refreshing, pleasant, and just overall like a really nice watch. So yeah.
It's a nice watch.
It was. Nice. It was just like, I was like, oh, refreshing. Ooh. Especially with all the dark shit we've been watching. This was just a really pleasant watch. And then I got a chance to talk with the director too. And he's fucking seems cool shit. Super nice guy. Like, seems like he's just a really positive guy to maybe like work with. He was talking about his kids a little bit, and I was like, damn, this guy's, I could tell why, like authenticity, I could tell like why like I felt so pleasant about watching his film, because he's just seems like a really great guy. So yeah.
Nice. That's Hungry Ghost Diner.
Yeah, Hungry Ghost Diner, based out of Malaysia. Really great. I enjoyed that one. Yep.
I'll jump in with the next one. This is The Artifice Girl, which we have mentioned before. This is an American production, specifically from Jacksonville, Florida.
What?
Juice, you recently interviewed Franklin Rich, the director, and that is a bonus episode we dropped about a week ago. So if you want to check our feed and listen to an in-depth interview with him, he talks about the creation of The Artifice Girl, amongst other things. Great interview. Check it out. The movie is specifically about this guy who develops a really advanced artificial intelligence, specifically to be used for baiting and capturing online predators, and it raises a lot of really interesting questions about artificial intelligence in a way that reminded, I think, all of us a bit of Ex Machina. It's a really well written, well thought out movie that gives you a lot to ponder after the end rolls, and it's got a little bit of Lance Henriksen in it, which is always nice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
always a plus.
It's totally worth watching if you're into science fiction stuff. I think you'll really dig this one, The Artifice Girl, and this is one we all got to watch too.
Yeah, and that one's available now. This is one of the very few films where you, like, listening, can go out and just watch it. It's on YouTube, Apple TV, Amazon. You can rent it or buy it. So yeah,
and it's worth a watch. I think that when I first saw this from Chattanooga as a screener, or not Chattanooga, Overlook. Yeah. I was pretty giddy about it. Like, I was like, man, this is a pretty good movie. And then I looked into it and I was like, oh, this is a local movie.
Yeah.
And so I was like walking on fucking air. I was like, hell yeah, man. Local boy gets good. I think it's well worth a look.
Headline, local boy gets good.
Randy's walking on air.
He had worked on, I was talking, I did the interview with him, but I was talking with him a little bit about some other things. He's local. We had a buddy that we used to like play in a band with who was in a movie that he had like worked on the trailer on or whatever. So it was like cool to like connect all those little dots. Don't Shoot the Messenger. You remember that movie, Bob?
Vaguely, yeah.
That our boy Sean was in. Sean was in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a good movie, even like, local issues notwithstanding. It's a pretty fucking good movie. It's definitely thinks about AI a lot, but I think it has even more to say about parenthood than that almost. Yeah. So, good shit.
Yeah. Check out The Artifice Girl now, anywhere you rent shit digitally.
Where do you rent shit?
Where can I rent some shit?
Digital shit. Juice, you're up next.
Oh, I'm up next again. Okay. This one is called Iron Mask. The director, here we go. Always with the English. Kim Sung-hwan. And this one was actually a sports movie. And I'm going to fuck up the sport that is, it's like the wooden swords or whatever. So not fencing, but the wooden swords is kind of got like a big end on it or whatever. But it was, it starts with a K.
Big end.
I don't know. Anyways, but it was good. It was very dramatic. Not a lot of dark stuff going on here. Mainly just a drama. But it was cool because it plays out like other kinds of sports films where you go through the training aspects of it. It's cool. It's the one where they wear the big mask. It's got like the metal grating on the front. So there's a lot of cool visuals, the training visuals, the sparring scenes were shot really well, very intense and very like engaging characters, even for a sport that I like knew nothing about. It did win one of the awards, maybe best director in the Korean category. At BiFan. So yeah, it was good. I liked it. This is probably one though that I would suspect isn't probably going to get like some it'd probably be harder to find internationally, so it might be hard for people to watch. But overall, I did enjoy it, and it was a sports movie about a sport that I didn't know anything about, but was like really engaged with, and enjoyed. So yeah, that was a good one.
Nice.
Iron Mask.
Dope.
Randy, you're up next, my guy.
Oh yeah, I am.
Here we go.
So I watched a film this is a USA film, so good for us. And
Old Glory waving.
This is a movie called Divinity with the director Eddie Alcazar, and I'm not familiar with Eddie's other work, but this is a very unusual looking movie. So this is kind of got like that really, what appealed to me about watching this as a screener was like the look of it. It's got this like very David Lynch and David Cronenberg melting pot of a look to it, because it's filmed at this place that I actually like. I saw like an architecture short on YouTube about the place they filmed this at just randomly, like a few weeks before. I was like, oh shit, I know this place. And Weird. It's designed, as I recall, as being like it's in the desert. It's this like insane place, custom everything that costs God knows how much money to make, and it's just in the middle of this like scenic vista of like Western shit, like and or like desert stuff going on, and it's got like everything's like based on like spinal columns and like snake bones.
Sounds like some Lynch shit.
It's skeletal, but like that's the Cronenberg aspect of it. It reminds me
Cronenberg.
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah. So like if you think back to Crimes of the Future, some of the art direction in that, it's the house is kind of like that.
Weird.
But the look of it, the visuals of it, it's in black and white, and it's very reminiscent of the very high contrast look of Eraserhead. And it's like got high grain, high contrast, and there's a lot of like really surreal imagery and stuff. That's not even to start talking about the story, and that's intentionally because the story is like a little bit like it's not incomprehensible like you might assume from those other directors that have some pretty like lofty ideas in their shit. I think there's some lofty ideas in here too, but it's a lot more straightforward of a story about a scientist who lives out in this crazy place and gets hookers delivered to his house all the time. And he developed, or his father developed, and he marketed this product, this drug that basically induces immortality. But the counterpoint to that is that it causes all women to become barren if they use it. And the world is now being marketed this at an alarming rate. So it's becoming increasingly rare for women to be fertile because they're all taking this drug and maintaining their youth forever. So it's an interesting sci-fi concept. I think that it's done pretty well. I kind of think that I think it would probably do better, and for my money, as like maybe like a 45-minute short. I think that it's maybe a little overly long. It's a little indulgent, which I normally don't mind, except that I don't think that it's necessarily packing the same level as something like Eraserhead, same level of a punch. That's not to say it's not worth watching, though. I do think it is. It's just you're gonna have to have some patience with this one for sure. But for me, looking for some cool visuals to look at and an interesting enough story and some like it's kind of like, I don't know, like Dune-like performances. David Lynch's Dune-like performances. It's kind of like, whoa, what the fuck
for the
is
art
this?
kids, huh?
Yeah, it's an art kids movie. I think that's fair. This one's for the art kids.
For the art kids. Hey, well, you need one for the art kids.
Yeah, I think I recommend it for the art kids. That's a good way of putting it.
The inside kids.
The indoor kids, yes.
Yeah.
Oh. So that was Divinity. I'll jump on this next one here. We did briefly discuss this one during our Overlook Film Festival roundup. The movie's called Late Night with the Devil. This is another Australian joint because Australia cannot be stopped this year. This was written and directed by Cameron and Colin Cairn, or Carnes, one or the other. This stars Carnes.
Cairn.
This stars David Dastmalchian, and he plays a late night TV host in the year 1977. The host's name is Jack Delroy, and he used to be a super popular host with great ratings, and then his show kind of fell into the toilet. And it takes place around Halloween, and he decides to do some sort of crazy shit to try and get a big ratings boost on his show. So he brings out this guy named Chris Stew, who's like a mystic, and he starts, reading people's minds in the audience and doing these tricks and stuff. And at a certain point, his little show goes wrong, and shit just flies off the handle. It's a really interesting.
Don't touch that dial. You need to hear this.
You do need to hear this. It's a really interesting concept for a movie. And they even do some like backstage, like behind the scenes stuff. Like when they cut to commercials, you see stuff that like the audience at home isn't able to see, which is kind of interesting as well. It's just a fun movie. It's a really fun concept. I'm hoping this gets a wide release for Halloween this year.
It should.
I don't see how it can't. But
yeah.
I don't know how it could not be like hosted by Shudder or Screambox on Halloween. That would be a huge mess if they don't do that.
To. Even a theater release would be like this movie was great.
It warrants it.
It plays out like a talk show, like almost in real time, where you got the different segments. They do the in-betweens where they cut a commercial, and This was a great Halloween one. Like, this one legit could work its way into the yearly rotation for Halloween easily.
Yeah.
It's good.
This is one that I got mildly obsessed with, to the point where I wrote the longest fucking article I've ever written, and I just can't release it until the embargo's lifted, because it's spoiler filled, and I'm like, god damn, I've just got this, like, gotta release it. I gotta release that Kraken.
Yeah.
Sit on that one.
It was good. It was good. I was happy to watch it. I actually had to go out of my way to watch this one. This was, for some reason, at a theater like 40 minutes across town, which I didn't realize until the last minute. But they gave me free popcorn, so that was nice.
It's basically Ghost Watch meets Larry Sanders Show, for those in the know.
Yeah, it's like a scripted Ghost Watch, or like a you know what I'm saying, like
I know what you're saying.
More dramatic.
The listeners, I don't know.
Production of Ghost Watch.
Yeah. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for Late Night with the Devil. I'm sure it's coming out later this year, hopefully for Halloween.
That was top tier for sure.
Yeah. And now I'm sitting back listening to y'all for these next 7 because I haven't seen them.
That should be normal for you. You usually steamroll your ass anyway.
It's true. Y'all go nuts.
Next up is me. So this was an interesting one because this was in the Korean category. It's called Abroad, but the director is Giovanni Fumu. So let me set this up. This was kind of a Korean movie. The 2 main leads are Korean. It's shot in Minnesota. The setting is Minnesota, so there's a large supporting English cast. The director is Italian. So huge mix here going on. And essentially this is about 2 Koreans who travel to Minnesota in order to see the Northern Lights, which I didn't even know you could do that there, but you can. So the girlfriend speaks pretty good English, so she's kind of like setting this whole trip up, and the boyfriend is very, very limited in English. But then something mysterious happens to the girlfriend, and the boyfriend's kind of like stuck in this situation where he's like potentially getting blamed, or he's like trying to figure out what's going on. He's like doesn't really know how to navigate the situation. He's all alone in this foreign place. And so it's a little bit horror, some tense stuff going on, thriller aspects for sure, dark elements going on, and there's twists and turns, and it's all just kind of like this sort of thrill ride. It was a fun watch, and I actually got to meet this director and talk with him about it. We were just having dinner or whatever, but he was a really cool guy. I really liked meeting him and hearing like his perspective on what, like, some of the things that happen kind of in this movie, or this movie alludes to, kind of happened to like the people who were traveling into the country, like the actors. Like, so the stuff that they had to deal with, like with immigration and the local population stuff, was interesting. So that was like a fun kind of movie. Since it's like so kind of international, I assume that this would probably get some kind of release. I think they're already, if I'm not wrong, maybe signed up with the XYZ in some capacity, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So maybe keep an eye out for that one, Abroad. It's one of those ones, almost kind of like maybe like a Snowpiercer, where you got a lot of English going on, a little bit of Korean going on, but yeah, some travel thrill aspects. So yeah, that one was pretty solid from one
of them
Giovanni.
Minnesota Koreans.
Yeah, that was Abroad. Randy, you got another Korean one to talk about.
That's true. I got a Korean film here by the name of 2035, and I'll never guess when it's set.
What?
Yeah, this is directed by Park Jae-in. Yeah, no, and it's set in 2035, the distant future. And basically, the conceit of this is that it is these 2 guys. It's a found footage film, and these 2 guys are filming on behalf of their American benefactor, boss, or whatever, a 10-year sort of like anniversary package about the fictional reunification of Korea that apparently happened in 2025. So only a few years away. Hold your fingers. But I thought that was like a really interesting idea. It was like, oh, so this is going to get deep into like Korean politics and stuff. And I'm not sure if it does or doesn't, because if it does, it's very. Did you watch this, Juice?
I couldn't finish this one like for time basis. So I watched about half of it. It kind of does a little bit.
Like I couldn't tell, like, because it's living in a fictional future of a culture that I don't know the lay of the land in the real world so much.
Yeah.
Like I only know a limited amount. I was, again, sort of like in this culture shock zone where I was like, I'm not sure how much of this is referencing something and how much of it is just purely invented for the movie. But as time wears on, like I was very interested. Like these guys are going around, they're like bribing people to tell them about stuff, and they're like suddenly onto something where, wait, what actually happened? There was an explosion the night that like, and then that seemed to cause reunification to happen like almost overnight. What actually happened? And so they're talking to all these people of different stripes and different creeds all over the country, and they just keep doing that, and like it's kind of interesting and fun, and you kind of get endeared to these characters, and you're like, okay, so what's going on? But like as time wears on, it's kind of like, I don't know, it gets sillier and sillier to the point where like at the end I was like, I don't know how much this actually had to say and how much of it was just like to service a really silly like thing that happens. So I don't know, like I wasn't super big on it. I feel like I would definitely get more out of it if I understood the lay of the land politically of Korea a lot better. I have to assume that otherwise it seems fairly random in a lot of its choices.
The biggest thing I saw that like it was kind of critiquing is like when they're all unified, there is like a bias still against kind of like North Koreans, or like a separation or whatever. Like, oh yeah,
exactly. And that's like interesting to me. I was like, oh yeah, okay, so yeah, that would make sense. Like, oh, they used to be enemies. Overnight, they became countrymen, and of course, like the poorer of those group are going to be put upon and going to have less beneficial powers in society and things like that. So like that was all very interesting, but they didn't they just kind of like let that go after a while and focused on like the core conceit, which of course they're going to follow the story. But I don't know, man. At the end, I was just kind of like, oh, okay. Like that was not where I expected that to land. So I'm a little medium on this one myself. Yeah. I feel like somebody a little more versed in that stuff could get a lot more out of it.
I would have liked to finish it, but at the same, like I was super busy and it was a digital thing for me, so I was like, sure, I couldn't. So that's okay. Next up for me, this is a movie out of Japan called Whale Bones. The director's name is Takamasa Oi. And so we have a lot of films. We're going to see this, especially in the independent game, talking about technology. It's just going to keep coming up. And other than The Artifice Girl, which was specifically talking about AI, this is the one that I think did it the most successful. So it kind of creates its own app. And essentially what happens is this guy, it starts off regular kind of guy. He's got a fiance. They break up. He's super depressed, sad boy. So he gets on this dating app. He meets this really beautiful girl, and they hook up. And after they hook up and he's showering, he comes out and she's dead, and he fucking freaks out and panics, and as a result he's going to like hide the body. He's like, I'm gonna go hide the body. And so he takes it out into the forest, and then the body's gone. The body disappears. So he's like, what the fuck? And so he can't. So after a while he's like checking, like, is any news pop up about somebody missing, about anything? Nothing happens. And he finds out that the girl he met is kind of like popular or an influencer in a way in this special kind of app. And what this app does is I think there was a kind of an app like this where you create content for it, but it's limited to the location. So they call it like the locations are called holes, and the content is called like you bury it. And so you have to physically go somewhere to uncover the content.
Like a geocache almost?
Yeah. So this girl, she has people who are kind of fanatics of her. It's just a small group, but they're always looking for her content. They have like maps or whatever. So when she disappears, they're trying to find her last video to kind of figure like, where is she? We haven't found anything yet. But he's also discovering her because he didn't know anything about her. He just met her one night on an app. And so it's like this kind of like digital ghost aspect where he can like go to a location, learn about this woman, like, and then he starts to kind of like fall in love with her kind of, but it's also mixed with this like grief and this like complete misunderstanding of like what happened, what's going on, and it's like a very atmospheric, beautiful, somber film in a way. Like it's weird. Like I thought it was very successful in what it was doing, dark in some elements, but mostly just like this guy kind of like dealing with like grief in a way, and like but also falling in love because it's like there's a person there, and it's like this kind of commentary, I think, on what happens when you die and your like social media is like left over and stuff. It was very interesting, actually. I thought it was the most successful, so that one was pretty good. Yeah, I don't know about wide release or whatever, but the main actress, I was like, wow, she's like particularly beautiful. And as I found out, she's some kind of like
some chambermaid,
like some kind of like no.
What? No?
Yeah. So like, I guess beautiful a singer, person? Maybe a singer. I don't know. And some kind of idol in some way. But yeah. So that one, I really like that one. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I like that idea. Yeah.
Rainey, you got something from UK.
Yeah, this is the first UK of the bunch, I think. And this is actually my last foray here. This is my last stand. Last film that I watched that I can speak to. It's called To Fire You Come at Last, directed by Sean Hogan. This is actually more of a short. It's only 45 minutes. And I really enjoyed this one. To me, this is an ideal Halloween watch, even though there's no explicit Halloweeniness in it. The thing that makes it feel that way to me is that it kind of has this like very pastoral, it's a period piece. It's in black and white. It's sort of portrayed almost like got a community theater feeling to it, to the acting, which sounds like a dig, but is absolutely not, because it benefits. It's like creates this like it adds to that appeal to me, that charm of feeling like this is like I don't know, like heightened reality, and it's very dramatic and like like they chew the shit out of the scenery in this thing. But it's about this man whose son has died, and we don't see the son, we don't meet the son, but he and his son's friend are meeting a couple of people, pallbearers basically, that are helping cart him over into a cemetery where he's supposed to go in his pine box. So they're taking his body in the pine box all the way to this cemetery, and they're doing it kind of late in the afternoon, and everybody except for the father is very nervous about superstitious things, about doing this after night, after dark. And of course it gets dark, and there's a very drunk like bastard of a man who is helping carry them, as well as like the right-hand man of the father, who's actually like a duke or some shit. Like I don't remember.
Yeah, he's some rich influential guy.
He's
and then
the guy's
best friend.
And the guy's best friend. Yeah. So like it's this perfect stew pot of people like sort of like jabbing at each other and like causing a little bit of havoc, and this very like grim, dark, like gothic feel to it. And it's very like turn of the century pastoral with like the powdered wig look and shit like that. And I don't know, it just speaks to me. And to me, it's like, it's also really tight film. It's only 45 minutes. I would happily watch this on Halloween. And
me too.
It's like the perfect level of spooky and silly. I just like it a lot. So heavily recommended for me.
I hope that, since it's a short, I hope that gets like a YouTube release or something, because it would be really fun to throw on for Halloween. For sure.
Oh my God, so fun. It's got to be around somewhere at some point, I got to think.
Yeah. So,
yeah,
all right,
Juice,
I'm going to burn through my last three since we're running a little long. So the last Korean film I'm going to talk about is from Kim Sang-un. And this is a scrappy one. I really just got to give props to this guy. It's called Immortal, and it's about vampires in a way. And you could tell this guy almost had like no money, but he does the best with what he's got, because he makes it where it's like a TV documentary, and he doesn't do that just so he could like save money, where he actually delivers on the style and edits of that. So, but it's essentially about people who were Koreans who are living in Japan when the atomic bomb was dropped in World War II. And essentially, the mothers who were pregnant gave birth to some people who had this mutation where they're essentially immortal, and people call them vampires. And so it's set in today now, but there's this woman who's technically old. She has an ID card and everything like that. but she's young and she's beautiful, and she's kind of trying to make it as a model, but like nobody will hire her because when she applies, it says she's like a 90-year-old woman. So she's like an outcast kind of in society, and then people are kind of scared of her too. They call her a vampire. They think she drinks blood, and it's about her kind of like struggling with like everyday life, just trying to work, just like trying to have a job. And then there was like this kind of like, they were outcast in society through history. So it kind of tracks history and stuff. And they go to some locations, and it was interesting. Another found footage type thing, because it's all these dudes just shooting. Like I said, really scrappy production, and actually interesting from a perspective of like, I'm actually going to tell some kind of story with like no money or effects. And in that way, I think the guy did a pretty good job, honestly. And I enjoy myself pretty good with that one. I mean, it is limited, but I found it intriguing. So I thought he did good with what he had, and really respected it. 2 films from Japan to round it out. Building In. This was a interesting ghosty / cult kind of movie, and I liked it. I thought it was like pretty effective for what it was. A pretty medium, like kind of what you would expect from a Japanese ghosty movie, honestly. There's this abandoned building that's not actually abandoned. People are kind of squatting, living there. It turns out that they're kind of like have found this way to live with ghosts in a way. And there are these kids who are there like kind of investigating it for school, and then crazy shit happens. And it had a lot of like good thrills, and a good fun cult movie as well. And then the last one, Best Regards to All. Nobody else watched this one, right? Best Regards to All?
No, didn't get to.
Whoa, man. This one, the like first half plays out pretty steady, where I was like, okay, this is a good film, good cinematography, good ideas and stuff like that. There's this girl, and her grandparents live in this small town. When she's a kid, she kind of gets spooked by something in their house, but she kind of forgets about it and grows up. She goes back as an adult, come to find out like something fucked up is going on, maybe not only with their grandparents' house, but with this town. The first half plays out pretty regular. It's got really good tension and like really crazy stuff. Then shit just goes buck fucking wild, like off the fucking hinges, dude. Like I can't really talk about what happens without spoiling like what it's about, but I was just like following it. I was like, yeah, that's good. This is really good. Oh my God. And then it just fucking goes crazy in the ad. Like,
I don't want to watch it.
When you say it goes crazy, is it like cerebrally crazy? Is it action crazy?
So there's like some kind of message that happens, and it's kind of like basing like your happiness off of the pain of others, essentially. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a societal type of thing. It's like, in order for me to be happy and to be rich or to have these things, there has to be people to provide them at a cheap cost, in a way, like a message at a cost or whatever to them. Mm-hmm. And so that like spirals to like, that's the message. And that concept spirals way out of control, like visually and from like from a metaphorical standpoint of like what's happening. I was like, what the like it goes buck wild, dude. It goes crazy.
You gotta like those movies that turn into different movies.
Yeah, it really, and not even, it's just like tonally, like you see they're capable of like making this movie like pretty regular, and then just like the second half, you're like, well, they just really wanted to say something, so they did. So that, Best Regards to All. If you're looking for something fucking buck wild, then try to find that movie. Nice. Because it's insane.
Nice,
so,
man.
Yeah. That's all the new movies I watched. I mean, you're talking about the old Korean movies I watched in the theater.
Damn.
Well, I mean, shit.
Yeah.
We only have so much time.
Sorry to go so long. Yeah.
Good haul.
That was an insane run of 21 movies in about a little over an hour. I think we did pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Hopefully we gave you guys some suggestions to keep your eyes peeled for. Throw them down on a list. They will be coming out, I'm sure, throughout the rest of this year, maybe into early next year for some of them. Good shit. Lots of good shit from all over the world. Hit us up if you have any questions about any of those. We'll be happy to answer them for sure.
Yeah, keep an eye out for some of the other content. Even after this comes out, we got a couple interviews to come out, some Q&As that I filmed. I'll throw up on YouTube and stuff. So yeah, I really enjoyed BiFan this year. Bucheon International Fantastic Film Festival. I always forget the fantastic.
It's fantastic.
Fantastic. Gotta throw
Fantasia and fantastic in the same name is that's bold. That's a bold choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome, Juice. Thanks for doing as much as you fucking did, man. You put the work in.
Ooh, I was tired.
Spreading that gospel. We appreciate it.
I'm good now, though. Time for another one.
Time for more. Jump into yet another festival.
Tub Christianity.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add before we wrap up?
I think I'm good.
I think just we've been really running the gamut with these festivals, Juice in particular on this one, and
hopefully
we
they'll have
a
us
lot.
back next year, and maybe you boys can fly out.
That would be tight. That would be very tight.
I was just gonna replug us because Lord knows we've made a lot of hay out of this benefit that we've gotten from these nice festivals. So we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Check it. Yeah. StraightChillingPodcast.com. We have just from this festival, I think we did at least 10, maybe more articles. Yeah. On a lot of these films. So we covered at least half the films we talked about in more depth.
Yep. Spoiler free articles too. So check them out.
Spoiler free. Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for stopping in, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that wrap up. And until next time, as always, everybody, please keep chilling.